Hello and welcome. You are watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Buhai. First, at this hour, Ukraine does not intend to retreat from the implementation of the ceasefire agreements in Donbas, but the Ukrainian Armed Forces are ready to respond promptly to any enemy activity. Ukraine demands Russia to influence the provocative behavior of illegal armed groups in the temporarily occupied territories of Donbas. This was stated by the Presidential Office of Ukraine yesterday. One Ukrainian serviceman was killed. 2 more military wounded as the result of shelling carried out by the Russian-backed militants. Earlier, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba initiated an urgent meeting with his Russian colleague Sergei Lavrov amidst the escalation that is observed in Donbas.
These are obvious attempts to disrupt the ceasefire and create major obstacles to the peace process as a whole. I emphasize that Ukraine stands for unconditional and strict adherence to the ceasefire. The path to peace and deoccupation of our territories is thorny. Still, it begins exactly at the moment the weapons get silent.
About 130 Ukrainians are being persecuted for political reasons in the territories that are temporarily not controlled by Ukrainian government and in the Russian Federation. This was stated by the head of the Relatives of Kremlin's Political Prisoners Charity Foundation, Igor Gryb.
Despite
the fact that these 11 political prisoners were exchanged last year, in spite of the fact that several people had already served their punishment in the Russian prisons and then returned to Ukraine, all this notwithstanding, the number of our citizens' captives have only been increasing.
Ukraine never leaves our people on their own and continually fights to make every citizen come back home. This was stated by Volodymyr Zelensky on the occasion of the prisoner exchange anniversary. Prisoners exchanged between temporarily occupied territories of Donbas and Kiev in the 35-by-35 format took place on September 7th last year. 24 Ukrainian sailors returned home then. They had been captured by Russian security forces in November 2018 in the Kerch Strait. Among other captives, there were also Ukrainian citizens illegally convicted in the Crimea and the Russian Federation, namely film director Oleg Sentsov, public activists Volodymyr Balukh, Alexander Kolchenko, Mykola Karpyuk, Stanislav Klich and Pavlo Gryb. Military intelligence is strengthening national security and independence of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky stated while congratulating the intelligence officers on their professional holiday. The head of the state also noted that the main intelligence directorate creates a positive image of the country, as has contributed much to obtaining the status of NATO Enhanced Opportunities Partner.
For the 7th year in a row, we have been confronting the enemy, whose actions are always difficult to predict. That's why the information you get is absolutely important. It is always timely and, the most important, reliable. Not only significant political decisions, but the life of the entire state mechanism depends on it. Honestly, without your input, our country is blind, deaf and almost powerless.
This morning in Minsk, a member of the Coordinating Council, Maria Kolesnikova, was kidnapped by unidentified persons. According to the reports of local media, Andrei Yegorov, who had been arrested yesterday, never got in touch since then. Overall, the Belarusian Ministry of Internal Affairs confirmed detention of 633 people. The international community is worried about violation of human rights in the country. The European Union is preparing a sanctions list. Meanwhile, Poland has received applications for political asylum from over 100 Belarusian oppositionists.
Sanctions against Alexander Lukashenko's regime officials will come into force in 2 weeks. The European Union is clarifying the list, which already includes 20 people. These are the officials responsible for rigging elections and using force against protesters.
The sanctioning procedure continues, is green-lighted on Friday by the foreign minister, so the work has started, is ongoing, and we hope to see the results soon in the form of a list of people who will be sanctioned for their responsibility in all the bad things which are going on in Belarus.
For a month, people of Belarus have been protesting against Alexander Lukashenko's recognition as the winner of presidential race. They demand to appoint new, fair elections. Mass unity marches have been held in the capital and major cities of the country on Sunday. I am for freedom and democracy. I want to live in a happy and free country, and I will keep participating in the protests until we have protected our rights. Detainees, about 200 people in the capital and even more than 400 in other cities. Among them, Andrei Yegorov, their coordinating council member. Another opposition representative, OLHA KOVALKOVA, has been forced to leave the country due to pressure. She's in Poland now. When I was arrested, representatives of the police and Ministry of International Affairs of Belarus approached me and said that if I do not agree to leave the country, I would face a long term. At the same time, the Belarusian Ministry of International Affairs declares that it responds to the protests very softly. Alexander Lukashenko threatened to act even more strictly.
There is a red line here. No one is allowed to cross this red line. If this happens, then logically we will react to the fullest extent of our law.
During the protest that began after the presidential election on August 9th, security officials detained about 7,000 people. According to the UN, at least 450 have been subjected to tortures in detention centers. The fate of the rest 76 people remains unknown. Reported by Yulia Krychkova, UATV News.
Fire, water and an exhausting race, Spartan Race, one of the most popular and massive competitions in the world, will be held in Ukraine for the first time. Our correspondent tells about the surprises prepared by the organizers of the contest and how the participants managed to overcome this.
Who are you? Spartans! What is your profession? Let's go!
This is how the participants of the Spartan race begin their competition. A traditional battle cry sounds before each start.
They are often asked, "Who are you?" They answer, "I'm a Spartan." The next question, "Spartans, what is your occupation?" They repeat "Aru" 3 times, which means the Spartans' battle cry, the war cry of those who go into battle or to the start. The guys try hard and they cope with their tasks. They compete in different categories. They're very diligent Spartans and those who should try a bit harder.
20 kilometers of track. There are water pits, fire barriers, high walls, and dozens of other tests in the Spartan's way. It's not only physical strength and endurance that are being tested during the race.
All participants receive a task at the start. Each has been given his or her individual number, and in accordance with it, they have a sequence of pictures. When they come here, they should sort out which of the 5 options is their proper answer. If they don't guess, they get their 30 penalty burpees.
Penalty tasks take time and energy for the participants. Some cannot stand it and leave the race. Doctors are always present along the entire route.
Sprains happen regularly. At least 3-4 cases occur in the course of each race. Fractures happen less often and head injuries are exceptionally rare.
Extreme racing named Spartan Race was launched 10 years ago in the USA. Now these competitions are held in 42 countries of the world. This is the first race in Ukraine, but Kiev citizen Roman runs this race for the 4th time. Previously, he participated in the contest abroad. He is sure that the Ukrainian version of the Spartan race is just as good as the foreign ones.
The Ukrainian race meets all the standards. It has super track, good layout, organization, and of course, it features our local sincerity. To get the highest grades, it's nice and everything is just great.
The Spartan Race World Championships are being held annually in the Greek city of Sparta. Athletes from all over the world come to participate in it. Reported by Yamin Khaddour, UATV News.
That was our final story this hour. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages.